Hajime Kamoshida is a writer I am extremely thankful for. He's best known for one light novel turned anime called The Pet Girl of Sakuraso. And if you ever get the chance to ask me in real life what my favorite anime is, that is the name you will hear. Now, is it the best anime ever created? Of course not. But nevertheless, it's one of the most important shows in my development as an anime viewer, and it looks like I'm not the only one. So this season, Hajime has had another one of his light novels adapted, called Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. Just really rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? But before we talk about the show, I need to make one thing inherently clear. I am definitely a biased source. This show is quite literally written by my favorite light novel author, so I guess keep that in mind. Bunny Girl Senpai is a show that follows Sakuto, a high schooler with some awesome scars. We quickly learn that Sakuto is actually part of a human tribe of warriors and... wait, wrong anime. No, but we learn that these scars are something of a freak occurrence that the characters coin as adolescence syndrome. It's when a crazy phenomenon occurs to a character that is in some way related to their emotions. For instance, Sakuto is mocked and bullied online to an extreme point, and thus somehow manifests those scars through him. Thus, the only way for him to escape is to destroy his phone and almost all connections to the internet. Similar cases of adolescence syndrome keep occurring around the school, and we quickly learn that somehow Sakuto is able to assist and stop it, sometimes by choice and other times by force. Sakuto is an incredibly well-written character. At every corner he's got a witty one-liner ready to go, and it really helps pull you through some of the more exposition-heavy scenes. Sakuto's backstory also really makes his character more understandable. He was pretty violently bullied and basically went through hell along with his younger sister. So when he does something incredibly embarrassing or outlandish, it makes sense because he's been through worse. Yet despite all of this, Sakuto is still vulnerable, in particular with Mai. Mai is another incredibly well-crafted character. As a child star, she is hit with adolescence syndrome in the first arc of this anime. Instead of being physically hurt like Sakuto, she begins to vanish from everyone's perception. No one is able to see her or hear her. It's only by forcing the other students to see Mai as a person who goes to this school rather than a famous actress that Sakuto is able to solve Mai's adolescence syndrome. And that's basically the charm of this show. It's fairly formulaic, but every one of the characters is lovable, but most importantly, flawed. Sakuto does put up this witty attitude as sort of a wall. Mai acts like she doesn't want to continue being an actress when she really does. Even Kunami, a supporting character who's incredibly nice and acts oblivious, admits that a bit of it is simply to avoid having to confront some of his actual problems. Granted, this show is definitely not perfect. Sometimes the metaphors are a bit on the nose. Also, the sciencey explanations. I'm not a scientist myself, but I do know basics of quantum physics, and all of their explanations are hilariously horrible. Most of it definitely sounds like some bullshit a high schooler would make up to sound smart. Other than that, the show is a great exploration of emotional insecurities, in case you hadn't figured it out yet simply from my synopsis. Each of the characters is always faced with a dilemma. Go back to being an actress or stay in school. Let your friend's crush ask you out and risk ruining your relationship with your friends, or run away from the situation. Yet the point is that the answer is never black and white. There is always some gray. Mai does go back to being an actress, but only part-time, balancing school and work. Koga's answer is to reject the person and understand that if her friendship with the other girls really was that shallow to begin with, then maybe it wasn't worth it. The show teaches some great lessons through their small but tight-knit casts, and you can't help but empathize with each of the characters. Bringing me to my final point about this show, the dialogue. Dialogue is something I never really talk too much about because it's hard to do creatively. Most of the time, dialogue is there strictly for exposition or telling crappy jokes, but Bunny Girl Senpai is extremely clever in the way it uses its dialogue. Sakto's witty remarks are way more complex than most would imagine. Although most main characters would have inner dialogues to let us know how they feel, Sakto does it in these little one-liners. Often he disguises his true intent through comedy, and it's only when he is absolutely forced to express his emotions does he do so with a straight face. And that's way more realistic than I had imagined. A lot of real people actually do this, myself included. Express our emotions, then blow it off as a joke. So despite Sakto being clearly this wise and witty character throughout the series, it becomes incredibly easy to see all of his insecurities in each moment through this technique. Much like the other main character of the show understands, Mai. I could drone on and on about this technique forever, but if you want to see it in action, you really just kinda need to watch the show. Bunny Girl Senpai is looking to be an amazing show, and luckily, it's not going unnoticed, like some other shows this season. Despite how on the nose some of the metaphors are, or just the quantum physics on macro scale explanations, the show is enjoyable. Bunny Girl Senpai's characters are all extremely lovable, yet flawed. The dialogue is clever in more than one way, and the show does cover emotional insecurities through a unique lens. And that's why you need to watch Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. Thank you guys so much for watching this week's video. If you liked it, maybe consider subscribing. I make anime-related content on this channel once a week. I have to admit, I was really looking forward to this show, and I'm super glad with how it came out so far. Like I said, the Pet Girl Sakuraso is my all-time favorite anime. I think I even mentioned it in one of my older videos. A huge thank you to all of my patrons. Speaking of which, if you're interested in seeing how I edit, chatting with me, or simply supporting the channel, I run a $1 a month Patreon to make that as easy as possible. Make sure you guys share, like, comment, and subscribe. This is Manime Matt. Make sure you guys say, man, go watch that goddamned anime.